Hello and welcome to this Seaside Airshow special from Plains TV. We're heading back to 2010 for the Dawlish Airshow and for the Sunderland Airshow, and this is part of my Saturday 11am streams, or these premieres. I've been doing the live streams of full airshows and combinations of airshows and compilations of ultimate airshows since March this year. It's been a lot of fun digging through hard drives and finding the very best bits of the airshows we've attended over the last 30 years. Not as much fun as real air shows, but hopefully it goes some way to replacing whatever air show we would have liked to have been attending this weekend. So this weekend, as I say, we've got a bit of Seaside action. Seemed fitting in August. I'm on holiday at the moment, which is why I'm not doing a full live replay of an air show, but I will get back into those. A little bit of holiday Seaside action this Saturday for us. We'll kick off with Dawlish. Beautiful setting, offering some really good vantage points for camera locations up in the hills looking down on the flying display. We'll see a couple of helicopters arriving for display prior to getting on with, what's the first display, remind myself, the wing walkers, Breitling wing walkers. They're an act that can get in a bit closer, a bit lower, so making for some really dramatic shots from the hillside. I hope you enjoy this look back to Dawlish Airshow 2010.
With the town packed with spectators, little room was available for aircraft on the ground. However, 2 helicopters were able to land in a nearby field, and they proved to be mighty popular. First the Merlin, secondly the Griffin. The RAF has always been a great supporter of the show, and this year was no exception. In addition to these 2 helicopters, the Royal Air Force contributed 7 items and teams to the flying display programme. 2 biplanes, 2 pilots, 2 wing walkers. It can only be the Breitling wing walking team. During their display, the team performed a range of high-energy formation and opposition manoeuvres, including loops, rolls, stall turns, and even inverted flight. That's impressive enough. Whilst all this was going on, the wing walkers were performing their own manoeuvres on the top wing of each Boeing Stearman aircraft. Such gyrations are difficult enough on the ground. At 150 miles per hour, whilst pulling 4G on the top wing of a 70-year-old biplane, that's something else entirely. As ever, the team's signature mirror formation was beautifully flown in tricky wind conditions. The smoke system used by the team is ecologically friendly and certainly adds to the spectacle. The Stearman is powered by a 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney radial engine that turns a 10-foot diameter propeller. This radial engine gives the Stearman its characteristic buzzing sound. The Stearman was used to train United States pilots during the 1930s and 1940s. With over 10,000 being built, the Stearman was a very successful aircraft and continues to be so today as the mount of the Breitling wing walkers. Towards the end of the display, the wing walkers are finally allowed back into the aircraft fuselage for a well-earned rest and a wave at the appreciative audience. A first for Dawlish, and probably a first in the UK, a display by a Dash 8 from Air Southwest. Air Southwest is Devon and Cornwall's own airline, offering fast and frequent flights from both Plymouth and Newquay airports to destinations in the UK, Ireland and the Channel Islands. Air Southwest operates a fleet of 5 50-seater Dash 8 aircraft manufactured in Canada by Bombardier.
Scary.
This display was planned, practiced and authorised just for us, and very well received it was too. The aircraft has excellent low-speed handling characteristics and can operate from runways that are just 3,000 feet long. This ability was well demonstrated towards the end of the display. Commemorating the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, a Lancaster and Spitfire from the Royal Air Force Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. Rather appropriately, the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight was formed at Biggin Hill, the most famous Battle of Britain airfield, in July 1957. Spitfire first entered service with the Royal Air Force in August 1938, and by the start of the Battle of Britain, Spitfires equipped 19 frontline squadrons. 352 Spitfires were lost during the Battle of Britain. The Lancaster was the Royal Air Force's finest wartime bomber. 7,377 Lancasters were built, half of which were lost in action. The flight's Lancaster wears the markings of aircraft Echo Echo 139, the Phantom of the Ruhr, one of the few Lancasters that completed 100 operational missions. the familiar and often welcoming sight of a Royal Air Force search and rescue Sea King helicopter. It has become a tradition at Dawlish to perform a rescue demonstration involving aircraft, lifeboats and the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. Of course, all remain on call in the event of a real emergency. The Royal Air Force shares the airborne element of search and rescue duties with the Royal Navy. In a typical year, these aircraft will respond to 1,800 call-outs. Sea King helicopters equip 2 Royal Air Force squadrons. Number 22 with aircraft based at Chivenor, Wattisham and Valley, and number 202 squadron with aircraft at Bulmer, Lossiemouth and Leconfield.
If you're watching this as a premiere, I hope you're enjoying joining in on the chat. I really enjoy the live streams. It's one of the best bits of doing the live streams. Each Saturday at 11 AM is joining in the chat and conversation with people that maybe we'd have been meeting at air shows and can't do at the moment. Do tune in on a Saturday 11 AM either to these premieres or in due course the live stream replays, which I'll be doing, and who knows, maybe a live air show or two in the future. Fingers crossed. Fantastic to see the Sea King there over the sea in its element. We'll have a few more RAF displays coming up in a moment from the Red Arrows, the VC-10 over the sea as well, and then the Tornado Roll demonstration complete with pyrotechnics in the sea. It's all kicking off, so stick around for that in just a moment, and then we'll be going on to Sunderland in a little while. These are all videos that I've recently made available, or full-length programmes that I've recently made available, in fact yesterday published, on the PTV On Demand service. That's at watch.plainstv.com, and you'll find a link in the description to sign up for a free trial to that service if you would so desire, and you can watch all of our archive, or as much of our archive as I've been able to publish. We are slowly getting through it, and this year's actually provided me with a bit more opportunity to go through the old hard drives or indeed tapes, to bring together airshow action from stretching back 30 years. That's when my dad set up the company in 89, so we've got some real nostalgia if you're into that sort of thing, available on that service. Head over to watch.plainstv.com or follow the link in the description to sign up for that. Let's get back on with some flying action, shall we? Some RAF displays from Dawlish Airshow in 2010. First off, the Red Arrows. The crowd rear arrival may have surprised some, but no one was surprised by the skill, precision and sheer entertainment provided by the Red Arrows. Under a threatening sky, the Red Arrows thrilled the crowd as only they can. The first half of the display concentrated on formation aerobatics. The low cloud prevented any looping manoeuvres, but that meant the team were always close to the crowd, providing some amazing photographic opportunities.
for the second half of the display, the team break into a number of different sections. This enables them to perform the heart-stopping opposition manoeuvres. It is not surprising that Dawlish is one of the Red Arrow's favourite venues. The backdrop of sea and dramatic coastline perfectly complementing their display. Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Arrows. Enjoyed by all. Dawlish was one of a very few number of shows that enjoyed a display by a Royal Air Force VC-10 air-to-air refuelling aircraft. The aircraft trailed two hoses, demonstrating the probe and drogue system of air-to-air refuelling favoured by the Royal Air Force. As the VC-10 departed out to sea, the stage was clear for the final display item, a roll demonstration by two Royal Air Force Tornado GR4s. This was not a traditional aerobatic display. Instead, the aircraft demonstrated some of the roles and manoeuvres currently utilised on operations in support of ground forces. The two aircraft act as a pair, providing mutual support and situational awareness. If necessary, the Tornado can deliver a range of ordnance, including cruise missiles and laser-guided bombs. It is also in its element, operating at low altitude and high speed. As the sound dies away, the two tornadoes head out to sea to rendezvous with the VC-10 tanker to refuel before heading home.
I really do miss that vantage point, that hillside at Dawlish. Spectacular place to watch a flying display from. Heading up to the northeast now to Sunderland, and we'll start with the nighttime flying display. It was around this time, 2010, where evening flying displays were sort of starting to kick off with a bit of wingtip pyrotechnics from the Swift glider, Guy Westgate, and as we'll see in a minute, the F-16, quite dramatic reheat in the dark skies. It's spectacular stuff. I love an evening flying display. I'd love to be shooting it with a sort of more modern camera with a bit less noise in the sky. If you're a photographer or a videographer, you might notice that, but still pretty spectacular stuff. The first display we'll see, in fact, we'll get an interview with Ian Sheely talking about nighttime displays, which were a relatively new thing back then, and then we'll get into the flying. We'll see Hawk Hunter Demeanour in some beautiful conditions, the F-16, and indeed the Swift glider. I'm saying Swift, it might be a Fox. What was he flying then? You guys can tell me in the comments. Complete with wingtip pyrotechnics. All very spectacular stuff to see in the nighttime above Sunderland Airshow back in 2010.
We were there for the Friday evening display, and here's display director Ian Sheely to tell us some more about it.
Hi, my name is Ian Sheely. I'm the flying display director for the Sunderland International Airshow. Sunderland was celebrating their 21st birthday show last year, and they were really keen to have a launch party on the Friday evening. And they had some music lined up and fireworks lined up, and we just wanted to introduce a bit of flying. So we spoke to the Dutch F-16 crew, who are always good supporters of the show, and they were willing to do some reheat passes for us. We followed on from last year's success really by building more of a flying display for the evening of the launch this year. And we started off with Mr. Demeanour, Jonathan Whaley and his Hunter, and the thought there was if we get a nice evening with the setting sun in the west, the colour scheme of Mr. Demeanour out to the east would just look superb in the setting sun.
Jonathan Whaley is one of the most colourful and popular display pilots on the airshow circuit, and so is his Hunter, Mr. Demeanour. She's painted like this because Jonathan wanted there to be a Hunter that looked like an art form, not an operational aircraft.
Followed it up with Guy Westgate and the Swift glider team, doing I think his first show over the water with his pyrotechnics off his wingtips, and it looked spectacular. Guy's claiming a world first. I think it's certainly a UK first, not so sure about the world first.
The Swift Aerobatic Display team are already one of the UK's most popular airshow performers, and these nighttime or evening displays, complete with fireworks, are proving increasingly popular, and let's hope we get to see more of them.
And then we followed that up again with the F-16, always a favourite with his reheat passes.
Dutch F-16 display pilot is Tobias high-tech scooter, but this was his display manager's chance to grab some of the highlight. And doesn't that reheat look spectacular in the evening skies over Sunderland?
And then on the last pass, he went into the vertical and released all these flares, the trademark of the Dutch F-16 display. And it really sort of cued the fireworks and launched the show for the weekend.
Gorgeous evening for a nighttime flying display. Not always been that way at Sunderland. I remember one year suffering with sea threats coming in from the coast. Oh my goodness, I could hear the airplanes flying around above the mist, but yeah, I didn't see very much that entire weekend, I think. Much better conditions in 2010, I'm happy to report, and we'll see a bit more F-16 flying in a moment. Just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying what we're doing here on the Planes TV YouTube and Facebook page, do like or subscribe to the channel. Make sure that will allow you to keep up to date with the live streams we'll be doing in due course, and these premieres as well, and now of course any other videos we might publish. But the very best way of keeping in contact with me, with us, is to sign up to the email newsletter. There's a link in the description to sign up for that, and you can reply to those. That comes straight to my inbox. So if there's anything that you'd like to see, either on YouTube, Facebook, or indeed on the PTV On Demand service, you can hassle me to publish it via that route. Let's get back into the flying, shall we? Back to the Dutch F-16, the daytime flying display, before we go on to, what else have we got here? Just looking at my timeline. Dutch F-16 with some flares, a bit of Harrier action from 2010 over the sea, a bit more Breitling wing walkers, why not? And I think we close the show with the red arrows, why not? It's a beautiful setting at Sunderland, and yeah, hope you enjoy these elements from the daytime flying display at Sunderland back in 2010.
We take off from a different base and we fly to the location itself, and then we simulate a takeoff by just doing a low approach, and then from there on it's basically the same demo. This is my first season. I took it over from, most people know Ralph Scheikaerts, who has been the display pilot for 3 years. This year I got the opportunity to fly it. Basically what happened is we have a workup program which involves a whole bunch of flights. The first 10 flights are in a two-seater together with the old display pilot. The first flight he gives a demonstration on how to fly the demo, and then afterwards we swap seats. I'll fly in the front seat and he flies in the back seat and just basically coaches me around. And that way we get it to a level where, according to the old pilot, it's safe enough for the new pilot to take over and start training. In total we did 30 upgrade missions. So a 30 mission workup program, which ends with a acceptance demo for the general of the Netherlands Air Force, who eventually has to watch the whole demo and approve. And then finally, if he approves, he will sign the display authorization. And that whole period took us about 4 months. In my opinion, particularly difficult to fly is the outside turn, because it is very unnatural. All the interpretation of the instruments that I can read off in the HUD have to be interpreted upside down, since I'm flying upside down. So yeah, since I'm new at the whole demo flying, there's lots and lots of room for improvement, as you can see, for most of the maneuvers. But I'm trying my best to eventually try to fly them as perfect as possible, and hopefully I'll be able to do that.
My name's Steve Kenworthy, Flight Lieutenant Steve Kenworthy. I'm the Harrier display pilot this year from number 4 Squadron over at RAF Wittering. We haven't been able to do it since 2006 because we've been in Afghanistan, which has been a huge commitment for the Harrier force. But we came home from Afghanistan last summer, so now we've got a bit more capacity to do the display again. So we're here this year. We've got about 10 shows, 10 weekends, and it's just great to be back in front of the public at the air shows.
Steve didn't know it at the time, but it would actually turn out that he was the Royal Air Force's last Harrier display pilot. The aircraft's retirement announced in the autumn of 2010.
The reason we're doing a roll demo this year, it's because we're only just back from Afghanistan. We're spending a lot of time recovering some of the skills that we lost because we spent all our time in Afghanistan. So doing a full display is a big commitment for the squadron. A roll demo is a bit less of a commitment. It's a non-aerobatic display really, so it's less currency requirements, less of a workup for me as the pilot, so it's less of a burden overall on the squadron. The whole VSTOL side of the show is quite challenging. The wind on the day makes a massive difference. No two displays are the same because the wind is different, and unlike when you're flying at 300 knots or 400 knots and you've got a 10 knot wind, that doesn't make a great deal of difference. But when you're hovering at 0, 10 knots of wind makes quite a big difference, and the direction changes a lot as well. So it's a very challenging thing to fly. I particularly enjoy doing the bow because that's what everyone likes. But the whole VSTOL side of things it's hard work, but it's good fun too, and it's great for the crowd to see. It's great that I bring a team of 6 or 7 engineers away with me. It's very much a team effort. They're part of the team. They also have the black suits, and I rely a lot on them as well. It's great for me that I can fly the airplane. As soon as I've landed, I can then, or before going flying, I can just worry that I don't have to worry that someone else, because someone else is going to be actually servicing the airplane for me. It's not my responsibility. Whereas other teams, not so fortunate to have engineers with them, have to service the jet themselves and then go flying. So it just takes a bit of pressure off me, which is good. But it's very much a team effort.
After decades of sterling service with both the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force, most recently with a 5-year operational stint in Afghanistan, we now say goodbye to the Harrier, and this would be the Sunderland crowd's last opportunity to see the jet in action. Always entertaining, here come the Breitling wing walkers in their post-war Stearman aircraft, and the 2 girls elegantly wing walking up on the top. This was a new scheme for the team this year, and you may remember them as Team Gino, or indeed Crunchy Flying Circus, or Team Utterly Butterly. The team was delighted to announce that Breitling have extended their relationship with the wing walkers. That means more appearances from their brightly coloured aircraft, and even the possibility of 4 Stearmans at some air shows in the future.
Sitting there on the leading edge of actually flying back. cockpit of it, sitting there on the top, giving us all away.
What better way to close the Sunderland International Airshow 2010 with a performance from the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Arrows.
Hi, I'm Squadron Leader Graham Bagnall, Red 10, and the display manager for the Royal Air Force's aerobatic team, the Red Arrows. Obviously, weather in the UK is always an issue for us at air shows. We can adjust our display to fit in with the weather. If we have a 1,000-foot cloud base, it will mean we have to do a flat display, 2,500 feet for a rolling display, which includes barrel rolls but no loops. And then if we've got a much better cloud base, we can do loops and rolls, which is the full display.
Hi, I'm Flight Lieutenant Simon Ray. I fly as Red 9 and I'm the Executive Officer on the Red Arrows. Myself, actually, in the first half, I'm on the outside of the big cranked arrow roll, which is about 300 feet wide, which certainly tests my piloting ability. And in the second half, I love doing the corkscrew, which I'm at the back of when I barrel roll around 6 and 7 smoke upside down. Yeah, it's fabulous.
Certainly the name of Detonator was only coined last year while we were out in Cyprus doing training, and it's a really nice way to start the second half of the show, detonating the team, if you like.
The infinity break closing the flying display there, or at least our flying display here, our little fantasy rewind to 2010 and the Dawlish and Sunderland air shows. I've said it before, I'll say it again, the full-length programmes are now available, of the full-length programmes of this Dawlish show in 2010 and indeed the Sunderland show in 2010 are now available to PTV On Demand subscribers at watch.plainstv.com. Follow the link in the description for a 7-day free trial of that, at least if you're watching in August 2020, that's available. And along with a huge amount, hundreds of hours of content from the likes of Harrier at Yeovilton, very many other events across the UK, Europe, and are there any US shows on there? You'll have to go digging around in the archive at watch.plainstv.com to find out. I'll be back next weekend with another premiere at 11 a.m. and then we'll start hopefully to get back into the live streams each Saturday at 11 a.m. Keep up to date via email, newsletters, and of course social media for what I'm planning. Don't exactly know what I'm doing yet, but there will be something going out on a Saturday at 11 a.m. on the YouTube and Facebook pages. Tune in then. Hope you've enjoyed this Seaside special. I hope you get to enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you've been watching live, hope you've been enjoying the chat and conversation with other airshow fans. I'll see you again soon. Thanks for tuning in.